Welcome to this audiobook summary of Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Robert Kiyosaki, the author of this book, had two fathers, a well-educated father with a Ph.D. who died broke, whom he called Poor Dad, and another who was not that well-educated, but was rich, whom he called Rich Dad. From a young age, Robert's dream of becoming rich was influenced by these two contrasting perspectives. His poor dad encouraged him to study hard and secure a job at a large company, while his rich dad taught him to take risks and learn lessons beyond the classroom. Are you ready to unlock the secrets to financial freedom and break free from the rat race? In this summary, we will uncover the key lessons and practical steps that can turn your financial dreams into reality. Each lesson is packed with valuable insights that can change the way you think about money forever. Stay tuned till the end to discover how you can take control of your financial future and achieve the wealth and independence you've always desired. The rich don't work for money. Money works for them. There's an old story about a man who had a donkey. Whenever he wanted the donkey to work harder, he would dangle a carrot in front of the donkey's eyes. Motivated by the sight of the carrot, the donkey kept moving forward, hoping to eventually reach it. This worked well for the man, but not ideally for the donkey. In this story, the carrot represents money. People keep working, hoping that one day they will become rich. However, money is an illusion. If you work only to get the carrot, you will never reach it. Instead, make money work for you. When you first start on your journey to earn money, don't work for the money. Fear and desires constantly control how we work. We fear not having enough money. This fear forces us to work harder every day. Then we develop desires as we imagine all the beautiful things money can buy. Our fears and desires trap us in an endless cycle of wanting more. We work harder to earn more money, and as a result, we spend more. Rich Dad calls this the rat race. Instead of falling into this pattern, avoid the trap of fear and desire. This is how most people aim to get rich. You need to make money work for you. When you get a job, don't go to work thinking you will just collect your salary at the end of the month. You will barely pay your bills and repeat the cycle. Working harder in another job for more money is just working for money. If you keep doing this, you will never become rich. Ask yourself, are you just seeking security and a safe job? Are you working for more money because you think it will make you rich or satisfied? If the answer is yes, unfortunately, you will never succeed. You will die poor. If your answer is no, you have taken the first step. Never let the fear of not having enough money or the desire to earn more money drive you to irrational behavior. We have business schools that don't teach us how to start or lead a business. Instead, they teach us how to be bean counters, how to lay off people, and how to give orders. They hardly ever teach you to be a leader. Every day when you wake up, ask yourself if you are doing all that you can. If you haven't reached your full potential, don't think about money daily or work harder just for a better raise. Don't keep such thoughts in your mind like, my boss doesn't pay me enough, I deserve a raise. I deserve to earn more money. When you stop blaming others for your problems and accept that the problem is your way of thinking, you will be able to foster more positive thoughts. This was the first lesson that Rich Dad taught Robert. When Robert and his friend Mike were teenagers, Rich Dad made them work for free at his convenience store. They kept working, not thinking about how much money they weren't making. During their work hours, they were able to free their minds and come up with new ideas to make money work for them. At the store, they saw the store clerk cut the first few pages of comic books in half. She kept one half and threw away the rest. At the end of the day, the distributor would come and take the top half of the books and give the store new comics. The boys waited for the distributor and asked if they could keep the old comic books. He said yes, but they had to agree not to sell them. The boys agreed and started a business. They charged kids to read the comics for a few cents each. For 2 hours, they charged 10 cents per book, and then the books were returned. Technically, they weren't selling them. They ran their business from their garage and paid Mike's sister $1 a week to manage it. They earned about $9.50 per week. They had finally learned how to make money work for them. Why learn financial literacy? In 1923, a meeting was held at the Edgewater Beach Hotel in Chicago. Many world leaders attended this meeting along with a group of the world's wealthiest businessmen. Among them were Charles Schwab, the head of a large steel company, and other wealthy merchants. 25 years later, all these men were either bankrupt, had committed suicide, or had gone insane. People care so much about making money that they forget to get an education that teaches them how to keep it. It's never about how much money you make. It's about how much money you keep. Many people have won millions of dollars in the lottery. A few years later, they find themselves back in the same situation they started in, if not worse. Many people ask how they should start. The answer is quite disheartening. The answer is to become financially literate. When you want to build the Empire State Building, you have to dig a deep hole and lay a strong foundation. When you want to build a small house, you only need a 6-inch concrete slab. Unfortunately, most people build the Empire State Building on a 6-inch concrete slab, and it eventually crumbles. Poor Dad wanted Robert to read books and study, while Rich Dad wanted him to become financially literate. The school system teaches people to build a house without a foundation. While reading books and studying are still important, they are not enough. Understand the difference between liabilities and assets and buy assets. This may sound simple, but to become rich, you need to follow this one rule. The poor and middle class buy liabilities that they think are assets, while the rich buy real assets. Rich Dad believed in the KISS principle. Keep it simple, stupid. He kept it simple for our author and his friend Mike. This is why they built a strong foundation. The simplicity of this education is why everyone is not rich. It is so simple that no one thinks about it. People think they know the difference between literacy and financial literacy. Most people only understand being literate. Rich Dad explained the difference between assets and liabilities through simple charts. Cash flow, pattern of assets. Income statement. The income statement is sometimes referred to as a profit and loss statement. Here, income means the money that comes into your pocket, and expenses mean the money that goes out of your pocket. Balance sheet. A balance sheet lists and compares a person's assets with their liabilities. Assets are things that put money in your pocket without you having to work for it. For example, if you buy a house and rent it out to others, the rent can pay off the mortgage and still leave you with money in your pocket. On the other hand, liabilities are things that take money away from you. For example, buying a house and living in it without renting it out means you are just spending money without gaining anything. To become rich, buy assets. To become poor, buy liabilities. The rich have more money because they understand what assets are. The poor have less money because they don't understand this principle correctly. This is why being financially literate is so important. When you look at the income of families who work really hard, Their cash flow history typically shows that they work hard and earn good money. However, when it is spent, the money goes towards many liabilities, leaving nothing to acquire assets. Another chart, Rich Dad, showed the boys the cash flow of the middle class. Income statement, balance sheet. In this, the middle class has nothing in their asset column, and the only thing that increases their income is their salary. However, when we look at their expense category, the middle class loses most of their money to rent or mortgage, taxes, and everyday expenses. The middle class spends their money this way, and if they continue to do so, they will always remain middle class. In the future, they might have even less money because they spend their money on liabilities such as mortgages, car loans, home loans, and credit card fees. On the other hand, poor people don't buy liabilities, but they don't buy assets either. They only earn money from their wages and spend it on daily living expenses. For example, a poor man earns $1,000. He pays $300 for rent for his small house, $200 for transportation, $200 for taxes, and $200 for food and clothing. After paying all these, he has nothing left. Sometimes he might need to borrow money, putting him further into debt. The rich use their assets to make money without working. For example, rich people take loans to buy a house and then rent it out to others. On a small scale, they pay $1 monthly for the loan installment, and then they have someone in their house who pays $2 for rent. This way, when they receive the rent money, they can pay $1 for the loan installment and still make a profit. They can earn this money without working 40 hours a week. The real difference between poor dad and rich dad was their mindset. The way they chose to handle their money put them on different financial paths. In the 1960s, when you asked children what they wanted to be, they wanted to be doctors or get good grades. Everyone thought that getting good grades meant they would earn a lot of money. However, when these children grew up to become doctors, most of them would struggle financially because they always thought that more money would solve their problems. Today, children want to be famous athletes, CEOs, movie stars, or rock stars. They know that academic success and getting good grades are not the only things that can make them successful. The financial nightmare is most common among newly married couples. They start their life in a small house. They think their combined salaries have doubled their income. They save for a bigger house and focus more on their careers. Their income starts to increase, and as a result, their expenses increase too. When you earn more money without being financially literate, you spend more. When the new couple saves enough money to buy a new house, they think they have become richer. The truth is, they have added a liability to their cash flow. They have to pay property taxes, they need new furniture, and perhaps the next thing on the list is a new car. One day, they will wake up and find themselves trapped in the rat race. People come to Robert and ask him how they can earn more money. The problem is, they think more money will solve their problems. Their problem is not a lack of money. Their biggest problem is that they are not managing the money they have properly. There is a saying that describes this situation. When you find yourself in a deep hole, stop digging. According to psychologists, people are afraid of rejection. They fear being different or being judged. As a result, people go with the flow. They take the path of least resistance, the least judgment, and they want the same things their neighbors have. They think they need to buy a bigger house, or a nicer car, or a boat because everyone else has them. Rich Dad said that the Japanese knew about 3 powers: the sword, the jewel, and the mirror. The sword represents strength. The jewel means money. and the mirror reflects self-knowledge, which is the greatest power of all. When you have the power of self-knowledge, you can look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself if what you are doing is right. The poor and middle class are controlled by money and never become rich. At the age of 16, Robert and Mike spent hours with Rich Dad in meetings with accountants, managers, investors, and employees. Rich Dad, an uneducated man who dropped out of school at the age of 13, was conducting meetings and giving orders to other educated people. Robert and Mike loved attending these meetings. They couldn't stand school. They saw how school discouraged creativity, how it shaped students into a mold acceptable to society. School encouraged children to believe that being successful and rich meant getting good grades. Robert and Mike knew this was wrong. Robert encourages his readers to buy assets instead of a house. Make that asset work for you and earn enough money to buy a house. There is a reason why the rich get richer and the middle class continues to struggle. The rich buy assets that generate enough money to cover their expenses and more. The remaining money is then reinvested in more assets that will generate even more money. The middle class relies primarily on their salary to pay for their expenses. As their salary increases, they are taxed more and they spend more, forever trapped in the rat race. Mind your own business. In 1974, Ray Kroc, the founder of the world's largest food chain, McDonald's, gave a speech in an MBA class. After his presentation, the students asked if they could hang out with him. While they were at the bar, Ray asked them, "What business do you think I'm in?" Everyone replied, of course, that he was in the hamburger business. He laughed and told them that his real business was real estate. Every McDonald's location was chosen based on the land it was built on. He explained that buying a McDonald's franchise also meant buying real estate. The lesson Rich Dad taught Robert was that people typically work for everyone but themselves. They work for the government, the company they work for, or the bank that handles their mortgage. Schools teach us to be employees, not employers. They teach us to become what we study. If you study science, become a doctor. If you study math, become an engineer, and so on. This way, students are never taught the difference between a profession and a business. When asked what your business is, your answer should not be that you are a banker or a doctor. That is your profession, not your business. Don't spend your life working in someone else's business and making them rich. Instead, spend your life in your own business and make yourself rich. Do not quit your day job. That is not what this book is teaching you. Keep your job, but also invest in your assets. Keep your expenses as low as possible and resist the urge to increase your liabilities. Here are some examples of assets you can invest in. Businesses that do not require your full-time work. Hire others to work for you. Income-generating real estate. Stocks and bonds. When buying assets, consider things you are interested in. Robert liked real estate and stocks, especially investing in small companies. He continued his day job as Rich Dad had taught him. He kept his asset column growing and stable while still minding his own business. Whenever a dollar came in, he never let it go. When you want to buy luxury items, it's okay. But the big difference between the middle class and the rich is that the middle class buys luxury items first, while the rich buy them last. Now, you are ready to learn about the greatest secret of the rich in the next chapter. How taxes work. Let me remind you a bit about Robin Hood. Robin Hood and his band of merry men would rob from the rich and give to the poor. People consider him a hero. Rich Dad always thought Robin Hood was a villain. And even though Robin Hood has long gone, those who continue to follow his directives are still around. The idea of Robin Hood is a primary cause of poverty in our society today. People always think the rich should pay for it, but the rich are not taxed. The middle class is. Originally, there were no taxes in England and America, though sometimes governments would demand taxes during wars. In 1874, England made income tax permanent, and America followed suit in 1913, though citizens were opposed to it. It took 50 years to establish income taxation as a norm in the UK and the US. Poor Dad worked for the government. The more he spent and the more people he employed, the more he was respected. Rich Dad was a capitalist. The less he spent and the fewer people he employed, the more he was respected by his investors. Rich Dad always thought that government employees were lazy, while Poor Dad always thought that the rich were greedy and should pay more taxes. When taxes were first introduced, they were mainly levied on the rich, but then governments wanted to tax more, so they began taxing the middle class and then the poor. The rich saw an opportunity and created corporations to mitigate the risks to their properties. They would hire a crew, spend their money, and travel the world to discover new treasures or trade routes. If the ship was lost and the crew perished, the rich would only lose the money invested in that particular ship. The capitalist mindset attracted the author more than the socialist mindset. He believed that no matter what Robin Hood's followers tried to do, the rich always knew how to outsmart them. If only the middle and poor classes knew how to play the tax game, they would move towards financial freedom. This is why Rich Dad kept saying that having a secure job without financial literacy is a life from which no one can escape. The rich have money, resources, and the mindset that helps them move forward. Meanwhile, the middle class and the poor work to pay taxes. Rich Dad cleverly played the game by understanding the biggest secret of the rich corporations. Money can be a form of power, but money alone is not enough. You need to know about money and save it to make more. When you work for money, you give power to your employer. But when money works for you, you are in control. Poor Dad, said Robert, should work hard, get a corporate job, and climb the ladder to become rich. Rich Dad asked Robert, why not own the ladder? At that age, it was difficult to imagine, but by his mid-20s, Robert began to understand. He worked for Xerox, but whenever he looked at his paycheck and saw the large deductions, he got frustrated. When he worked harder, it only increased those deductions. Even when he got a promotion, he could only think, who am I working for? Who am I making rich? In 1974, while working for Xerox, Robert started his first company. He began to mind his own business. He wanted to grow his asset column. His own corporation earned him more than working for Xerox. It bought him his first Porsche. Money was working for him. He was out of the rat race. He learned to be financially literate. He believed people should learn about accounting, investing, law, understanding markets, tax benefits, and how to avoid lawsuits. The rich invent money. Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone and patented it. As the business grew, it became difficult to maintain. Bell approached Western Union, offering to sell his patent and his small company for $100,000. The president of Western Union declined, stating that the price was too high. Bell went on to create the multi-billion-dollar company AT&T. In 1984, Robert began teaching professionally. Among the thousands of people he taught, he noticed that they all had potential. Each of us has the capacity to become something great. Self-doubt holds us back. After leaving school, we realize that grades aren't as important. Financial talent requires knowledge, but being daring and courageous sets you apart. Most people decide to play it safe with money. However, taking risks can lead to becoming the next Bill Gates or Alexander Graham Bell. Those who don't take risks might not go bankrupt, but more importantly, they will never progress. This marks the end of an old era and the beginning of a new one. It's an exciting time to be alive. Keeping up with changing technology and the evolving list of assets is crucial. Robert designed a game called Cash Flow to help people understand how money works. It's about the path to wealth and how to get out of the rat race. One day, a woman playing the game received a boat card, meaning she now owned a boat in the game. She was happy until she realized how much money she had to spend on its maintenance. She realized the boat was eating up her money. Sometime later, she acknowledged that she could relate this game to her life. She was frustrated because she didn't understand how money worked. Real life is similar. If you don't understand something, you might get angry and blame something else. Alternatively, you can learn what you don't understand and win the game of life. Many people make money in the cash flow game but don't know what to do with it. They find themselves behind in the game, even with a lot of cash. Financial intelligence includes asking yourself, what will you do when you have opportunities but no money? What will you do when you have money but no opportunities? Answering these questions can help you move forward. Most people find a job and work hard to answer these questions, but you should be someone who creates your own opportunities. Don't wait for them to come to you, because if you do, you'll spend your entire life waiting. The most important secret of the rich is knowing that money isn't real. We make money mean what we want it to mean. Our mind is our most powerful asset, depending on how we use it. If you want to be among those who keep progressing, you need to invest in your most powerful asset, your mind. You need to be financially intelligent. For example, in the 1990s, Arizona's economy was very bad. Citizens were encouraged to save $100 a month. Saving money is always a good idea, but don't let it dominate you. Watching your savings grow might cause you to miss opportunities to invest in something that could propel you forward. Arizona's economy was bad. Investors saw it as a perfect opportunity to buy many properties at low prices. Robert bought a $75,000 house for only $20,000 at a bankruptcy lawyer's office. He then put it back on the market for $60,000, and his phone didn't stop ringing. It took him only 5 hours of work to make $40,000. He continued the pattern, and over the years, this business made enough money to pay for his company's cars, gas, insurance, dinners with clients, trips, and more. A few years later, the houses sold for $60,000 were worth $110,000. There were still other opportunities, but they were fewer, and it wasted Robert's valuable time. He had to move forward, look for new opportunities, and create them. The world around us will always change. The economy will improve and then worsen. Technology will improve. Markets will fall and then rise. If you are financially intelligent, you will be prepared for all of this. Opportunities will always exist. Make sure you don't miss them. There are two types of investors. The first buys prepackaged investments. This is simple, easy, and clean. The second type creates their own investments. This type is more professional and makes much more money. If you want to be the second type, you need to work on 3 main skills. 1. Finding an opportunity that everyone else has missed. Find a need and fill it. 2. Raising money. The second type of investor raises capital. They don't always need a bank. 3. organizing smart people. Not all intelligent people are in charge. Surround yourself with smart people who can advise you on the best courses of action. Work to learn. Don't work for money. A journalist arranged an interview with Robert. She had read some of his previous works and was impressed by his style and use of words. When they finished their interview, she told him that she too wanted to become a best-selling author like him. Robert asked her what was stopping her, and she replied that her job was not progressing. He suggested that she attend a sales class taught by his friend, and she got angry. She had forgotten that Robert had gone to sales school. If you want to make money from something you're talented at, your talent alone won't be enough. It's important to know how to monetize that talent. Go and learn how to sell yourself or anything else. There's no shame in becoming a salesperson. The biggest difference between Rich Dad and Poor Dad was that Poor Dad was mostly concerned about job security, while Rich Dad was more concerned about learning. To become rich, you need to learn a lot, not the other way around. Yet, schools still reward people for specializing in something. They are rewarded for knowing more about less. For instance, when doctors get a master's degree and then a doctorate in a specific area like pediatrics, they are rewarded for knowing more about less. To learn a lot, you need to work for different companies, expand your knowledge about different things in the world, and learn how everything works. That's why Rich Dad insisted that young Robert and Mike sit with him in meetings with doctors, accountants, lawyers, and other professionals to learn a little bit about each specialist. When Robert quit his high-paying job to join the Marine Corps, Poor Dad couldn't understand why. He was devastated. Robert tried to explain why he made this decision, but he couldn't get through to him. He told him that he wanted to learn how to fly, but more importantly, he wanted to learn how to lead soldiers. Leading a team of employees or managing a company is the hardest part of running your own company. That's why Robert wanted to learn it. After returning from Vietnam, Robert joined the Xerox Corporation. He didn't do this job for the profit. He was shy and scared at the thought of selling something to someone. He decided to take part in the sales training program offered by the company to overcome his fear. After that class, Robert started running his own company. If it failed, he would have gone bankrupt, but he decided to take the risk and follow Rich Dad's advice. Going bankrupt before the age of 30 is the best time because you have plenty of time to recover from it. Most employers pay their employees just enough to get by in their daily lives. These employees work hard so they don't get fired, and their biggest concern is how much money they take home and the benefits provided by the company. This is good in the short term, but disastrous for long-term plans. It's best to learn everything you want to learn before choosing a specific profession, because once you choose a specific profession, you get stuck. Learning how to sell is crucial for anyone wanting to make money from their talents. Gaining broad knowledge and skills across different areas is essential. Prioritize learning over job security, and don't hesitate to take risks early in your career to build a solid foundation for future success. Overcoming obstacles. On your journey to becoming wealthy, you will encounter many obstacles, such as fear, cynicism, laziness, bad habits, and arrogance. Overcoming fear. No one likes to lose money. Those who have become rich have lost money at least once in their lives. However, those who are poor might have never lost a penny. It's not about the fear of losing money. It's about how you handle the fear of losing it. It's okay to be afraid sometimes. We all fear something. The solution to this fear is to acknowledge it. The fear of losing money is a reality. When you start young, around the age of 20, you can afford to take risks and lose money because you have time to recover. If you wait, the fear of losing money can grow stronger. A significant reason for the lack of financial success is that people are too afraid to lose. Winning always comes after losing. When you learn to ride a bike, you fall several times before you master it. The same goes for rich people. They lose money before they become wealthy. Overcoming doubt. Sky is falling, sky is falling. We all remember the story of Chicken Little. He kept shouting in the barn, warning everyone of the impending doom. We all have a little Chicken Little inside us that comes out when we are scared. There are many people who will keep telling you that what you are doing won't work. They will say, if it were that easy, why hasn't anyone else done it? They drain your energy. It's important to avoid such toxic behavior and take risks even when you are scared. Listening to those words of doubt, whether from your own mind or from other people, can keep you stuck where they are. The real world always expects you to become rich. It always gives you plenty of chances. If you are too deep in self-doubt, you won't see those opportunities. Everything in life has risks, and playing it safe is also a risk. You risk losing all those opportunities because you doubted yourself. Move forward, take risks, and become rich. Overcoming laziness. The story of a businessman who worked very hard and lost his family is common. One day he comes home and finds his wife has left with their kids. He knew they had problems, but he decided to work harder to make more money. They are the laziest people. Busy people are often the laziest. They are so busy that they forget to take care of their wealth. They are so busy that they forget about their health. A little bit of greed is a good way to overcome lazy behavior. We were often told in childhood that greed is a bad thing, but we all have a little bit of greed inside us. You have to keep that greed under control. Rich Dad hated the words, "I can't afford it." Poor Dad always said this to Robert. Rich Dad believed these words closed children's minds. They kept them from being a little greedy. Instead, Rich Dad would say, "How can I afford it?" This question could create a strong mindset in children and help them think about ways to make money and get what they want. Overcoming bad habits. Rich Dad wanted young Robert to understand how to get rid of bad habits. He asked him when Poor Dad paid his bills. Robert replied, "At the beginning of the month." Rich Dad asked if Poor Dad had anything left after paying his bills. Robert replied, "Very little." Poor Dad paid everyone else first and then paid himself. This is a bad habit. The author is not encouraging people to stop paying their bills, but first, they need to pay themselves. When you pay yourself first, you instill a discipline that drives you to create more income. Paying yourself first means putting money into your investment portfolio before you start paying your expenses. This habit makes you more resourceful and forces you to look for ways to generate additional income. It also keeps your motivation high because you see your wealth growing, and it encourages you to work harder and smarter. Overcoming these obstacles requires acknowledging and facing your fears, avoiding cynicism, staying proactive instead of being lazy, cultivating good habits, and maintaining humility. By doing so, you set yourself on the path to financial success and personal growth. Getting started. Becoming wealthy requires a lot of determination. You create your own opportunities. Schools teach us that we shouldn't worry about our financial future because the government or the company we work for will take care of it. This does not help children move forward. Here are 10 steps to help awaken the financial genius within you. 1. The power of spirit is greater than reality. Robert knew someone whose dream was to be part of the U.S. Olympic team. She had to wake up every day at 4 a.m. and swim for 3 hours. She gave up spending nights with friends and missed parties. When Robert asked her what motivated her, she said she was doing it for herself and her loved ones. Love was driving her. If you ask people if they want to be rich and financially independent, the common answer is yes. When they realize it's much harder than they thought, they lose their motivation. To find purpose, tell yourself that you don't want to be poor. You don't want to be an employee. You don't want to be average. This will ignite your wants. I want to build my own company. I want to be an employer. I want to be rich. If these feelings are strong enough, you can use them as fuel to achieve your dreams. 2. The power of choice. You have complete control over every dollar you earn. You choose whether you will waste it or invest it. You control how you will spend that dollar. Even if assets are handed to you, you still need to learn how to maintain those assets. Unfortunately, most people choose not to become rich. They set limits on themselves that mold them into a certain shape. They are convinced that money is not even a possibility. Everyone has a choice. Education is the best thing you can ever invest in because your mind is your most powerful asset. 3. The power of association. Do not choose your friends based on their financial status. Make friends from different walks of life. You can learn from people who are different from you. Most rich people, when they become rich, their friends almost never ask them how they got rich. They never ask how to make money like them. They just ask for jobs or money. 4. The power of learning quickly. Be careful about what you learn and what you keep in your mind. You become what you learn. If you study medicine, you treat patients. If you study engineering, you build bridges or houses. In today's world, it doesn't matter how much you know, but how quickly you can learn. Our world today is moving at a fast pace, and you need to be able to keep up with it. If you take too long to learn something, it becomes old and useless. You will have wasted your time on skills that are no longer applicable. 5. The power of self-discipline. If you can't control yourself, don't try to become rich. Always remember to pay yourself first before paying anyone else. People who pay themselves first invest money in their assets before using their paycheck for expenses. Then their assets pay for their expenses. Here are 2 tips to help you pay yourself first. Don't get yourself into too much debt. When you fall short, let the pressure build up and think of ways to make more money. Don't dip into your investments or savings. This is never the solution. 6. The power of expert advice. Always hire professionals. If you don't understand how something works, don't sell your house by yourself. Listen to their advice and learn about it so next time you can do it yourself. Yes, professionals often ask for more money, but it's a good investment because when they make more money, you make more money too. 7. The power of getting something for nothing. For example, when buying stocks, buy something your broker thinks will increase in value. You can take $1,000 and invest it in a company. In a few years, you can turn that $1,000 into $2,000. Then you can take the extra $1,000 and invest in something else to make more money. This way, you can make money out of nowhere. You might lose some money, but taking risks is essential. 8. The power of focus. Most people do not have enough financial education. They waste most of their money on foolish things. If you gave 100 people $10,000 each, after just 1 year, 80 of them would have lost everything. 16 would have increased that money by 5 to 10%, and the remaining 4 would have doubled that money. Schools teach us to work in a profession that earns money, but we really need to learn how to make money work for us. Become an employer, not an employee. Everyone loves luxury. What makes rich people rich is that they don't buy them on credit. They don't take the easy way and buy it on debt. They pay for it with their assets. To control money, you need to be smarter than it. Otherwise, it will control you. 9. The power of myths. The real power of learning is creating your own heroes and emulating them. Learn from their moves, their techniques, and their work. When you are young, your heroes are often basketball or football players. As you grow older, your heroes should follow your mindset. Choose new heroes, people who will help you reach your goals. Personal heroes inspire us to become what we want. They make things easier, keep us motivated for a long time. 10. The power of giving. Whenever you feel like you need something, give something away. Find a charity to support. Donate old clothes to a charity. That's the power of giving. What you give always comes back to you. Even if it doesn't, you will find that the joy of giving itself was the reward. By keeping these 10 principles in mind, you can set yourself on the path to becoming wealthy. Conclusion. Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki offers invaluable insights into the mindset and strategies required for financial success. Through the contrasting lessons of his Poor Dad and Rich Dad, Kiyosaki illustrates the importance of financial education, taking risks, and learning beyond traditional schooling. The book emphasizes the need to understand the difference between assets and liabilities, the power of self-discipline, and the significance of investing in oneself and one's financial knowledge. By applying these principles, you can break free from the rat race, achieve financial independence, and build a prosperous future. Remember, it's not just about how much money you make, but how much you keep and how you make it work for you. Take the lessons learned from Rich Dad, Poor Dad and start your journey towards financial freedom today. Thank you for listening to this audiobook summary of Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. We hope these powerful lessons and practical steps have inspired you to take charge of your financial journey. Remember, the path to financial freedom is paved with knowledge, discipline, and the right mindset. Don't forget to apply what you've learned and start making smart financial decisions today. If you enjoyed this summary, please subscribe to our channel for more insightful summaries of best-selling books. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and stay financially empowered.